Hi, my name is Ken Van Druten, aka Pooch.
And I am Kevin Tater McCarthy.
Coming soon is the next installment of the Waves video on the Linkin Park tour. We're here in West Palm Beach. Been here for a couple of days. We've been setting up everything. We've got the PA up in the air. All the lights in the video are all up in the air. Tater, you know, we've gotten some questions asked of us since the last video that we did. You know, some people enjoyed the video. And one of the questions was asked was, since they saw the first video, which was filmed in the rehearsal space, they want to know if we've done any particular changes as far as Waves plugins have gone. Have you done anything in monitors?
I haven't added any new plugins yet, as per se. I'll use the same ones and I will gradually tweak them a little bit. We did do a European tour in between that last video, if I'm correct.
Right.
And I still have my settings from then, which I kind of switch when I go to rehearsals because there's no PA involved. And I'll try to probably start working those settings back in now that there's a PA involved.
So you're almost having to do two different kind of setups for rehearsals in here.
Correct.
And now why is that?
Just because there's no back pressure from the PA, which affects even in-ear monitor mixes. People say, oh, you know, that's why they wear in-ear so the PA doesn't affect it.
Right.
But it still does. It still does. I mean, it's a lot of noise out there, and if it's not working with you, if it's working against you, there's some changes that have to be made.
One of the things that I've changed is on the snare drum, the drummer is very nuancy. He plays, you know, he's got a really great crack of his snare drum, but he also does like snare drum rolls, almost marching band, you know, nuancy stuff. And I was finding that the gate that's in the Digico, although it is an awesome gate, it kind of wasn't giving me what I needed to get all of those nuances. So I have loaded a C1 is now on my snare drum top and bottom, C1 gate. It just seems to capture all those nuances a little bit better and still yet have a gated snare drum, so you don't have tons of hi-hat, you know, rolling into the snare drum mics and, you know, all that. So
are you doing those separate, or have you sidechained them?
the bottom snare is sidechained to the top, so any sort of movement that happens on the snare drum top gate is happening exactly the same on the bottoms. How about Vitamin? Have you changed anything on Vitamin?
I still use it on my outputs. I just really tweaked the low mid and the high mid. I kind of just tweaked the stereo separation on and a little bit, and that's about it. I kind of stay within that realm with those two, and it really helps get my vocals out in front and over the top.
I've made some changes out here with my Vitamin usage. I think in the last video we talked about I was running Vitamin on my left and right and loving it, and I thought it was really great. It takes bands and it kind of, you can smear them a little bit and make them a little bit wider. That's what Vitamin does. And so what I did was took my Vitamin off my left and right. So now on my left and right only now is an L2 and a C6. I've put Vitamin on my guitar groups. So what that's done is allowed me to kind of spread out the guitars and leave the keyboards and the vocal centered, and it gives me a lot more in the stereo spectrum.
Place for everything.
More control and place for everything, and it seems to work a lot better. Let's talk a little bit about virtual sound check. I know virtual sound check is a tool for me that I couldn't live without. Tell me a little bit how you use virtual sound check, because in your case, you don't have the PA doing any sort of back pressure.
Correct.
So how's that working out for you?
I love it. I'm using it more for just practicing my cues. I've got 3 cues in a tight area, and I'm just using it for get my hand motions down, muscle memory. A lot of times at rehearsals, they will play a song, they're done with it, but I'm not done with it.
I know.
I can't ask them to replay it. So I just make a mental note, and then I go back, fix it, re-listen to it, make sure my muscle memory is right for the movements I have to do with my hands, and then I'm ready.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, you know, listen, virtual sound check is a necessity these days, especially for us front of house guys. We spend a bunch of time in front of near-field monitors. After the band leaves, you know, just tweaking on little things. I'll even loop a little drum fill or something and just work on the EQ of the drums or whatever. And we're both using the DigiGrid systems that we talked about in the last video, you know. I spend a lot of time in front of my near fields. I mean, nowadays, I tune my PAs to sound like my near fields. What I want out of a PA is a big sounding nearfield with impact, you know, having maybe just a little bit more sub information. I want it to sound like the record, and so I spent a bunch of time doing that.
And we got to reiterate that the band doesn't sound check either.
The band doesn't show up until the show every day. So the digigrid and the using a DAW is imperative for what we do. And so we're coming MADI out of the console, BNC into the MGB, and then Ethernet into some Apple. You're using a Mac Mini, and
Mac Mini.
I'm using a Mac Mini as well.
Sonnet enclosure.
So that's kind of our setup for the digigrid MGBs.
Can't be any simpler than that.